Hey, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? That's right, practice. Everybody's favorite 8-letter word. And this is how I recommend you practice. I'm starting off with the length of square bar. This just happens to be 5/8 cross section. Take the first section down to about 1/2 inch. No measuring, just guess. Doesn't have to be exactly 1/2 inch. You're not a machinist. We're going to make it about 3 inches long. Here I'm using a technique where I'm fullering with the side of my hammer, kind of chopping it up, and then I come back and planish with the flat face of my hammer. My goal is consistency, not exactness. So if it's a little bit shy of 1/2 inch or a little proud of 1/2 inch, that it's proud the entire 3-inch length. And I recommend students do work straight on the face of the anvil as opposed to the edge of the anvil. It takes away a lot of the fear of I'm going to damage the hammer or the anvil or something, I'm going to break something. It gives them a really big area as a target. Same technique, just chopping this up with the fuller and flattening it out. When I started blacksmithing, I taught myself, and one of the things I found was a really useful tool was starting off with square bar, so I had a point of reference. I knew what square was, and I would just take that bar and reduce the entire thing. So if I had 12 inches of 5/8 square, I would make 12 inches of 1/2 inch square, and then 12 inches of 3/8 square, and then 12 inches of 1/4 square. This is a shortened version of that. So I know where my 3 inches ends. I've got that marked. It's pretty clear. Now we're going to work on the 3/8 inch cross section up here. And the first step will be to reduce an amount of material. First down to 1/2 inch and then all the way to 3/8. And I'm using this technique where you fuller on the edge of your anvil and sort of pull the material back toward you. I'm going to make the point right here that I am not hitting the anvil in between each hammer stroke. I am merely dropping the hammer. There's no power behind it, no force. It comes off the workpiece, drop it on the back of the anvil. The anvil will lift it up for me, I won't get tired. And here's the same technique, sped up a little bit. There it is with a little bit of rhythm. Rhythm comes with practice. I'm not focusing on my rhythm, it's not something I'm trying to develop. It just kind of comes naturally. So now we have a really long, about 6 inches in length of a 1/2 inch cross section. Find my 3-inch point. It's about there, and that's where we're going to reduce down to 3/8. So in the tongs I have about 3 inches of 5/8 cross section. The next section is about 1/2 inch by 3 inches, and now we're going to draw out that 3/8 now that it's sectioned out. And here we are, same technique where I'm using the edge of the anvil as a fuller and drawing back toward myself. Drawing the workpiece toward myself. Just working that hot nugget on 4 sides. Making this kind of a practice stick is a low commitment exercise. And you can do it any way you want. The goal is to just be consistent, to start out with something that's square and keep it square through the entire forging. You're going to train your eye to measure the consistency of the cross section and to measure a consistent length. I'm not using very heavy hammer, I'm not hitting with much force, I'm just hitting with however much force it takes to do the task I want to do. Here I need to hit it pretty hard because I'm trying to reduce that area quickly, and here I'm hitting pretty light because I'm just trying to straighten it out. Again, start square, finish square. I find for some students the hand-eye coordination that's required to be a blacksmith is alien to them, especially the younger students. Maybe they're not taught to work with their hands, or Lincoln Logs were replaced by video games, and this sort of skill set is just foreign to them. I don't know what the cause is, but I do find that they don't understand how to manipulate their body to achieve a particular result. Probably really good with your fingers and thumbs on keyboards and stuff, but not with a 2-pound mashing device. So working this kind of long project that's really about motion and control required, the hammer control required, is beneficial. And it's low commitment. Like I said, they can stop whenever they want, come back to it later. As opposed to a long project practice like making tongs, where I find students get confused within the first 4 hits. They're sort of out in the weeds. Confusion leads to frustration, and frustration leads to abandonment. They want to go back to learning how to make a knife, and the same thing happens. So here, just learn how to hit it square. Keep practicing and get better. Now here I'm going to use a technique of drawing out over the horn. Bic, if you'd prefer. This is equally effective. It's very efficient, very aggressive way of drawing out the metal. But because of the nature of the tapering nature of the horn, you can quickly introduce a defect in your square workpiece. So you have to learn how to see that defect and fix it quickly before it propagates throughout the entire work. And we're still working on 3/8 cross section. Fixing up the little twist that I've put in. Cleaning it up. There's still a little twist. I'm going to take that out first here. And there you go. I've got a very long length of mostly 3/8 cross section. And I'm going to now section out and make a 1/4 inch cross section. Keeping in mind I only need 3 inches of this to be a consistent 1/4 inch. I'm going to cut the rest off. See how quickly that goes. This is how I'm measuring. Just looking at it. No rollers. Here I've offset it on the wrong side. So we'll fix that real quick. I know that the distance from the edge of my anvil to the edge of my hardy hole is 3 inches. So I marked that 3 inches, dropped in the cutoff hardy, and eyeballed a spot on the edge of that bar to cut off. You can see I'm cutting on all 4 sides. And now we'll double check the measurement, and that's pretty close. And now it's just a matter of cleaning up this little stick. We're going to get each section square. I'm going to tap at it until I'm happy with it. And that's going to go on for a little while. Learning how to smith is a long game. It takes lots of time and lots of practice. So projects are good. They're a good way to develop certain techniques, to reinforce the techniques that you've learned. But if you can't hit square, you can't hit consistent, or you hit once with all the force you can muster, and then your second hit, you're barely tapping it. If you can't do a consistent Sorry, I was distracted trying to figure out what I was doing. Apparently I was checking the long axis of this to make sure it was flat. And I've got a bow in the middle. Anyway, lost that train of thought. We'll come back to it, I'm sure. Oh yeah, consistency. Well, apparently I'm also a member of the easily distracted generation. It's good to have a tool like this to develop consistency between your hammer strikes and what your eye sees. You can light up your forge, whatever you have, work on whatever kind of anvil you have, and practice any drawing out technique, any sectioning technique, and make one of these. And after a very few of them, you will be a better blacksmith. As long as you see consistent improvement in what you're making, then you know you are getting better as a blacksmith. And when you see something like a bottle opener and you want to make that bottle opener, that knife, that whatever, veined leaf scroll, you'll have a better place to start from. You can focus on the techniques required to produce those items, as opposed to trying to figure out how you hit this into a rhomboid shape, a diamond shape, and how to correct it. I wish it were as simple as buying a $200 British hammer, but it's not. You have to work at it. You have to practice. What I like to do when I finish a forging is get rid of the sharp edges. Maybe you like sharp edge square things, that's fine. I don't. I like things that look handmade. So there it is. Pretty straight, pretty consistent. Start to finish, that took about an hour. So measure across that 3 inches from the edge of my anvil to the far edge hardy hole. That's a little longer. That's a little longer than, both of those are longer than 3 inches. That's closer to 3 inches, and we know that's 3 inches. Now we'll get a little measuring device and really scrutinize it. Pretty straight that way. Pretty straight that way. That's a good start. Ooh, it's coming right for us. So let's see. Yeah, that's consistent. So I've got a strong 3-inch length. Check it for consistency. Not bad. Grows by about a 32nd of an inch in width. Alright, that one's a 1/4 inch longer. Okay, so that's pretty consistent. Probably the same 32nd of an inch inconsistency. I'll take that. And that one's about the same length, 3 3/8. And that floats a little more. Still less than a 1/16 of an inch difference from one end to another, and that could just be the parallax and how I'm seeing it on the camera. There you go. That's at least as straight as any of my fingers. Now that's what you're trying to develop. Do that a couple times. Be honest with yourself when you're analyzing it. And make several of them. Do it in between the swords. Trust me, your swords will come out better. Okay, that's it for this time. Summer is coming and I'm getting ready to shut down my studio. I'm not sure when the next video is coming. Until then, remember, it's your hammer. Take it out and play with it whenever you want. And thanks for watching.